Thanks for having me back again, I guess, first of all. The reason I'm running for council is quite simply I have a vested interest in this community. 5 years ago, my wife and I made the decision to move back to Decatur from North Carolina, and I've followed the council over a number of years, and I've sort of seen the good times and the bad, and I noticed, a few years ago it seemed like every council meeting was rather contentious, and there were a lot of issues that the mayor and council couldn't agree upon. And then over the last couple of years, it seems like things have worked out a little bit better. The downside of that is that there hasn't been a whole lot of revenue in order to do some of the sort of neater projects that everyone would like to see get off the ground at some point. But generally speaking, I noticed that the council was functioning more like a team and not sort of on divergent interests. With that being said, our city has lost a tremendous amount of population over the last 10 years, 20 years, and I choose to make Decatur my home. So the cost of fixing, maintaining, and upgrading this city today is never going to be less in the future. So if we spread the total taxpayer burden across 70-some thousand people now, and we continue to see a population decline into the 50s, somewhere down the road, it's only going to cost more to get things done in the future. So my goal as a councilman is to simply try to hold the line on the budget, take care of some smart, responsible growth projects where we don't have to dive in with both feet and incur all kinds of expense, and try to stem this community population decline that we've seen going on here for the past 20 years.
Thanks.
Okay. A few weeks ago, somebody asked me why I was running, and I very flippantly said outrage, but that's probably not a very good answer from the perspective of what we're looking for here. I've always been interested in public and civic affairs, and I saw this as an opportunity to sort of get into the game, so to speak. I think there are some decisions that have been made in the past that I totally disagreed with, and other things I thought were just fine, but I'd like to at least get a seat at the table so that I could throw in my ideas and opinions based on what I hear from people in the community. And anytime I talk to somebody and told them I'm running for city council, they said, well, what are you going to do about this, that, garbage, and the lake project, and all the other various things that are pending. So I thought, okay, this is a chance for me to at least get my feet wet in politics, or maybe even up to the ankles or farther than that. Some wag once said that working in government is almost the perfect job. You get paid for doing something good for people with someone else's money, but that's not, that would seem to be a fair description, but like I say, I think there's a little more to it than that. It's the idea that you can do something good for other people, and the money is not an issue as far as being paid for being on the council. I don't think it's enough to get too excited about. But like I say, I'd like to be a voice for the people that I have worked with and lived with for the last 40-some years, and like I say, I'm out there. It's up to the voters to decide if I'm the person that should be doing the job for them.
Okay, Mr. McDaniel?
Well, again, as a lifelong citizen of Decatur, being born and raised here, I've been active over the last decade of just watching the council, both as a private citizen, as a reporter, but also taking part in neighborhood organization, different activities, and I as a reporter sitting in the front row of the chamber all these years, sometimes I would like to raise my hand and say, folks, you're really going in the wrong direction. Have you thought about this? And I'm sure other reporters have never had that feeling either. But anyway, I think I bring a depth of information and depth of watching the council and the community all these years that I think I can bring a new perspective and maybe a little broader representation to the council, kind of bridge the neighborhoods and other organizations and the citizens of the community. And there's unfortunately, I have to say, in the last few months, there's been, if you scratch the surface, there's been some a lot of disruptive behavior on many organizations and that, and so I think I can help bridge some of that, whether it's business, neighborhoods, other organizations, and bring a perspective to the council that I don't think they have right now.
Okay, thanks. Start with you, Mr. Lewis. One of the challenges for the next 2 years, 4 years, but 2 years for the council is going to be how they deal with a tax base that isn't growing and fewer resources, or at least resources that aren't growing, and expanded and increased expenses such as pensions and everything. So for each of you, what would be your approach to that sort of dilemma where you have cost increasing and you don't have tax revenues necessarily increasing at the same level?
Okay, well, my approach to that would be to scrutinize every nickel that is being spent and just decide how really necessary it is to do whatever project is in the works. I have no negative feelings about having a beautiful city, but if the beautiful city comes at the expense of making sure that the water system is working and the sewers are working properly, I believe the cosmetics should take second fiddle to the issues of making sure that the people have the services that are required of a properly operated city. Police department, fire department, all those things are vitally important. I don't see any, to the extent that economies can be generated in those areas, all well and good, but certainly not to the extent that it would affect public safety or the comfort and ease of people in the city. So again, it's just like when you get your paycheck at home, you have to look at what's coming in and what's going out and making sure they at least come close to matching. So that would be my approach to it.
Okay. Mr. McDaniel?
Well, I think I'll give credit to the city manager and city staff over the last several years in coming up with budgets and staying under budget, which is should be commended. It's going to be getting worse. I think you're going to see less money coming from the federal down to states and to municipalities and other governmental agencies. I think there's ways, and I hate to hit competitors' front lines, cut the tax bodies urged. Your paper has urged it. Many others. I think many of the agencies and governmental agencies in Decatur have worked together at one level of cooperation on projects, but I think there needs to be a more advanced task of sitting down, and I'd like to see a community task force of all the government agencies coming together and sitting down and saying, okay, we're working at this level. Let's see if we can kind of work together on expenses. We both do this project, or we do these services. What if we combined? I think trying to eliminate governmental agencies is going to be really tough. Township has a major lobby at the state level trying to get a hold of getting rid of 1,400 townships. I probably have a better chance of growing hair again than that happening in the near future. But again, they can work at another level of, okay, we're all getting less money. Let's see if we can work together. I think that's going to be the key for all of the agencies to be continue with their basic services to their to the citizens that they represent.
Okay. Mr. Lewis?
Well, I kind of read two questions in that, and I guess maybe it's just because I'm a finance person by trade. And the first question is what to do about how to maintain with declining revenues. So, how to control expenses. I think first of all, we must recognize once again that the city has done a fabulous job over the last couple of years, especially of taking down the total expenses of the city. I want to say the city's gone from 575, 80 employees to like 500 over the course of the last couple of years. So all else equal, if revenues were to turn back around, it's not like I would envision the city would be hiring back 75, 80 additional jobs. As for pensions, yes, there's increased expense, but the pension funding and accounting rules are pretty complicated. And I really, I wish I could predict the market. I can't, but we're at some incredibly low interest rates right now, which results in a higher value of the liabilities. and we've seen, some pretty drastic market events, especially in 2008, which are still coming into play in the valuations. Last year, the pensions were up, police and fire 16 and 17% on the asset side, respectively. So, I really think that will work itself out in the long run. If not, it's mandated by the state. The city's just going to have to make the contributions that are required. So then finally, with respect to the revenue side of it, how do we increase revenue? Well, it would be nice, in a perfect world, if we just had people wanting to move to Decatur, move their businesses to Decatur, and all we had to do was worry about, patching the potholes and plowing the snow. But we simply can't maintain our way into prosperity. We're going to have to spruce up the town. We're going to have to clean up the town. We have to do these little projects that are financially responsible and don't result in a tax increase over the course of the long term if we ever want to have a chance of kind of turning the tide of population and revenue decline around.